Amy's chart has been requested several times. I have a lot to say about this chart, so I'm going to do my best to do right by her in 3 minutes. She had an incredibly challenging chart in life, and you can see her whole story. Looking at her chart, we see an ascendant in Gemini with the midheaven in Aquarius. Amy was getting a lot of feedback on her life choices from the very beginning. From day one, I'm sure she had a million different people telling her what they wanted her or thought she needed to be doing. People with the North Node conjuncting the ascendant, especially this closely, often have a feeling like they are not in control of their lives because in many ways, there is a fate and destiny that is sweeping them up and pushing them along their path. Her chart ruler in the other Mercury-ruled sign, Virgo, the sign of its exaltation and domicile. This is an incredibly intelligent placement. She was brilliant. In the 5th house, the creative genius was apparent right away, and we know this is true. But this really gets to me. With her Mercury being retrograde, this is a significator that her chart wanted her to learn how to ask for help and support from the people around her. This was a key lesson because she's spent a long time trying to do everything on her own. But what about what's happening with her moon? We see another fame indicator in this chart, her moon at a world point. 0 degrees of a cardinal sign. In this case, her moon is falling on the midheaven. Amy was very emotionally sensitive and actually a very private person with this Capricorn moon in the 7th house, but likely felt like her pain was always on display for the world. People liked to see it and witness it and talk about it. Her genius was also on display for the world though, and she was recognized as being absolutely brilliant, which she was. Her moon conjuncting to Neptune on one side and Pallas on the other, falling in the 7th house, she was incredibly intuitive and overly compassionate with the people that she knew. Moon Neptune in the 7th house, ripe to be taken advantage of by a partner potentially, as she was. But Moon with Neptune too is so prone to addiction and drug abuse. It's here in her chart. This is one of the things that if she were to start doing drugs, she would struggle with. Her South Node conjuncting Neptune as well. This is some confusion early in life, definitely lack of boundaries in all of her relationships. But Moon conjuncting Neptune, she's very spiritual soul, very, very creative, but again we see someone who's very prone to falling into addictive patterns. Her journey was taking her into herself, ultimately into her expression through words, Gemini. With Vesta here, she was carrying a light for all of us that she wanted to deliver. With Mercury and the Sun squaring her nodes and angles, it was key for her to integrate her self-expression as well as her genius creativity. A Venus retrograde conjunct Mars in Leo, self-love was also a key lesson for her. With double Earth luminaries and a Gemini rising, the anxiety that this chart experiences is very intense, especially with Mercury squaring the nodes. But with this Mars and Venus and her Vesta placement, she was a light for everyone. Rest in peace, Amy. We love you so much. Thank you for being so brave.